Want to get even more analysis now, so I'm joined by ABC News contributors, Democracy for America CEO Yvette Simpson, and former Trump Justice Department official Sarah Isgur, who we spoke with earlier. They were both great. Happy to get their analysis once again. Yvette, I want to start with you. Obviously, you are a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, and I imagine if we were speaking maybe 3-4 years ago and Liz Cheney lost her primary, you'd say good riddance. How you feeling tonight?
Yes. I feel, I feel like we don't need another extreme Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz in the House. And so that makes me very sad. I will say that the effort by Democrats to put support behind Liz Cheney in this race, I think, is still misplaced. She did, as you all reported earlier, vote with Trump 92% of the time. She celebrated the Dobbs decision. She voted against the Voting Rights Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, after January 6th. Not necessarily a defender of voting rights and democracy, more, I think, horrified by the monster of Trump that she created. But as you all said earlier, I think this is not the end for Liz Cheney. I think that sounded very much like a presidential speech. As I say, anytime Republicans invoke Abraham Lincoln, they're probably running for president. So we know we won't see the last of her. I do think that she and Adam Kinzinger stepping up against their own party and against the horror that is Trump was good. But I don't think she is a hero, at least not by Democratic standards, because 92% of the time she votes with the most extreme Republican president we've had in a long time.
Sarah, there is no concept that has been beaten to death like the idea of, is this Donald Trump's Republican Party anymore? But do we have any greater sense of clarity as to where the Republican Party stands or where it's going?
Yeah, we're coming to the end of primary season, and obviously Donald Trump endorsed tons of candidates. Mike Pence going up against him in several important races in Arizona, in Georgia, in Ohio. And what we've seen is a little bit of a mixed bag. You know, Mike Pence's endorsed candidate won by a large margin in a state like Georgia. But Donald Trump, by and large, whenever he was head-to-head against establishment Republicans, his candidate usually won. No question, also, when we look at the polling, where Republican primary voters are for 2024, they're picking Donald Trump, about half of them at this point. But the question I think that's yet to be answered is what happens in the general election? Donald Trump's candidates winning the primary is only the first step. If they can't actually win in a general election, get into office, then they don't have a lot of influence over the future of the Republican Party. And when we see candidates like the governor and Senate candidates in Pennsylvania, they are slipping a lot in the last month. Can they actually get over the finish line, or are Republicans going to be wiped out in Pennsylvania?
I know it was pretty clear that this is not the last we've seen of Liz Cheney, but Sarah, do you think that that's the last we've seen of Liz Cheney within the Republican Party?
Very interesting question. You know, Wyoming has a sore loser law. She can't run as an independent in Wyoming this fall. But looking ahead to 2024, running for president, there's no argument that Liz Cheney can win a Republican nomination for president at this point either. She can run as a Republican to sort of be a thorn in Donald Trump's side potentially, or she'll have to consider running as an independent. You know, we've already seen one political party spring up, the Forward Party by Andrew Yang, Christine Todd Whitman, where they've said they simply reject the Republican and Democratic parties, not necessarily on policy, but just that they have failed the American people on all of the sort of big tonal cultural stuff. It'll be interesting to see where Liz Cheney thinks she fits into the political spectrum moving forward.
Yvette, we heard Liz Cheney reaching out to all Americans. She talked about Democrats, Republicans, independents, all of them saying basically above everything and above her keeping her seat is we need this commitment to free and fair elections and also accepting the results of them, even and especially when it's not the results we were hoping for. Do you agree with that message, that that is more important than any kind of political ideology?
I do agree with that. I think it's really interesting, though, as I said before, you know, all of these state legislative changes we've had in voting as a result of January 6th could have been corrected if she and others had voted for the Voting Rights Act. So, yes, we want to make sure we respect the integrity of elections, but that starts by making sure every person votes and every vote counts. So, yes, in this instance, the storming of the Capitol, the attempt to not certify electors had her horrified. But not enough to protect the right to vote when she had the opportunity in the House, which for me makes it really challenging. And I'm wondering how she expects to be able to reconcile that, I think, if that comes out in the future. I do find it ironic, though, tonight a Trump-supported candidate is going to win, but not going to claim that there was election fraud because she won. So there's a whole thing within the Trump Republican Party where elections are fraudulent and they're false unless we win. And so that's an interesting thing to contend with as we talk about kind of the battle for our democracy and what it really means to have free and fair elections.
Yvette Simpson and Sarah Isgur, always great to talk to both of you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.